for free. Okay, so the point of these is to give you guys the opportunity to hear from experts in a range of different fields. So whether this is nutrition and dietitians, all the way up to psychologists, to make sure that we can build essentially a resource bank full of free resources to help us navigate celiac disease and life with an autoimmune disease. Because as we all know, it's not as simple as just going gluten free. And that is all the advice that we do get. So, in terms of the plan, that is the way things are going. So, just to give you an overview of this webinar and my journey. So, I have been diagnosed with celiac disease for a few years now. So, as you can see, this is me at university looking not very well. I really, really struggled with many symptoms from fatigue and joint pain and mental health issues as well because of the physical symptoms. And I lost a lot of weight too before my diagnosis. So, experienced a very wide range of symptoms. Can you guys see me, by the way?
I can see you.
Yeah,
I can
perfect.
see you too.
Perfect. So I experienced a range of different symptoms. And what made me go to the doctors was actually recurring infections. So it's not something that I hear many people speaking about, but I was just getting different infections every single month, and antibiotics wasn't working. I was just getting ill over and over again. And that's what actually pushed me to go to the doctors. And then after my diagnosis, I thought it would be smooth sailing. Little did I know that actually, you know, it's completely normal to gain a lot of weight post diagnosis. So, based on, what you search up on Google, what the doctors tell you, it says, anemia, digestive issues, and unexplained weight loss. So, I was very confused when I started to gain weight quite rapidly after my diagnosis. However, after kind of a long period of educating myself, staying consistent with my nutrition, my fitness, and just building that knowledge around lifestyle changes that I could make, I have finally found that balanced approach, found that confidence, and now I am a coach. So there's a few of my clients on the call now. So thank you guys for joining. But essentially, I coach women with celiac disease to build strength, hit their fitness goals, lose weight as well, all whilst balancing celiac symptoms and gluten-free life. So my partner Ed, he works with me, and together we run the Celiac Lifestyle UK, which was previously called Gains Without Grains, which we love a pun, but it just wasn't quite clear that it was for celiacs. So we have changed the name and we're going through a rebrand at the moment. So that's where you can find information on me and what I do. So, what are we going to cover today? Today is all about healthy habits that you can start implementing immediately into your life. So, literally tomorrow to start feeling better. And we're going to look at things like the importance of resistance training for overall health and longevity. We're going to look at how to, build a sustainable routine to achieve fat loss or muscle building, no matter what your goals are around symptoms. Okie dokie. So, does anybody have any questions just before we get started? No? No? Amazing. So, let's just get right into it. So, this is not a scientific lecture, guys. This is not going to be a big ramble with lots of overcomplicated topics. It's a collection of simple but practical steps that you can start taking now to improve your overall health. But if you have any questions throughout this presentation, please do stop me. I've never done a webinar before, so I'm going to probably talk a little bit too fast. And so please just butt in if there's something that you don't understand, stop me and I will slow down. Okay. Right. So let's kick things off with the importance of resistance training. So, weight training, resistance training is just any form of weight bearing exercise. So, this goes from body weight all the way up to lifting weights and using equipment in the gym. The reason that resistance training is so important for us is it's for a whole host of reasons. So, it's recommended by the government that everybody does resistance training, whether they have celiac disease or not. But for us in particular, there are a few more reasons that it needs to be at the forefront of our mind, thinking about long-term health. So, number one, it's very common for us to experience things like muscle loss and feelings of weakness and, just overall fatigue in our body and aching in our body. So, strength training is a great way to build up your strength, build up your muscle, and start feeling a lot stronger. Um, Unfortunately, as celiacs as well, we're at an increased risk of certain health conditions in the future, such as osteoporosis. And bone health is another really positive benefit of resistance training. So, lifting weights actually increases our bone density. So, it's really, really important for women in particular, because as we get towards the menopause, our risk elevates of bone density issues. And then if you put celiac disease on top of that, it's something that we do really need to bear in mind. Then, in terms of weight loss and fat loss, building muscle and going to the gym actually increases your metabolism. So it really, really helps with long-term weight management, long-term fat loss. And a mistake a lot of people make when they go on a weight loss journey is they'll focus on cardio and, walking as much as possible. And they kind of neglect building muscle. And the muscle building is what really, really helps with your long-term progress and maintaining your results. Then, when it comes to just celiac life too, there are just endless benefits of having a consistent routine with exercise. So it can help your energy, sleep, digestion, and even stress and anxiety too. So we know that there are a lot of unique stresses that we have to go through as celiacs, and having a consistent exercise routine can really help clear your head and just give you that me time. So, any questions on the importance of resistance training?
Nope. You got forest fence now.
Sorry. Oh, okay, let's move on. So, when it comes to fitness, there are quite a lot of unique challenges that we do have as celiacs when it comes to building up a consistent routine and a sustainable routine. So, you've got the mental challenges, first of all. So, this is not just fatigue and brain fog. This is just the mental strain that having, an autoimmune diagnosis, a long-term health diagnosis, and having to implement such a huge lifestyle change can have on us. So things like social anxiety, food anxiety, they are all things that contribute to our mental health, our motivation. So sometimes those mental symptoms can act as a real barrier to even having the mental space and even being able to find the motivation to exercise. When it comes to physical symptoms, I think this one's a little bit more obvious, but it's just really, really challenging to get yourself into the gym when you're worried about things like joint pain, when you're worried about muscle aches, when you're feeling really bloated and you're struggling with digestive issues. So we have to consider the physical side and the physical impacts too. And then when it comes to, life post-diagnosis, it's not always smooth sailing. So it's not a case of you get those blood test results, you have the endoscopy, and all's well and good. You're gluten-free, everything's brilliant, and you're feeling super, super healthy. We have flare-ups now and again when we do get cross-contaminated and when we do get glutened by accident. And also the recovery process in itself can take months, up to a year in some people. So that's something that we really, really do need to consider. And then finally, I shared my experience in terms of weight management, but believe me, if you're somebody that is struggling with this, you're not alone. Please, please, please ignore the stereotypes that celiacs struggle with struggle to gain weight. That is super, super common as well. But believe from the hundreds of women I've spoke to, kind of gaining weight post-diagnosis and the confidence issues that come with that are a really big barrier, because the gym can be, for example, quite an intimidating space. And when you are not feeling so confident in yourself, that in itself is a barrier to you finding the confidence to get in there and build that consistent routine. So there's some of the.
What's up? Why being grumpy?
Oh, Sophie, would you mind putting yourself on mute? Thank you. Perfect. So they were some of the wide range of challenges that we can face as celiacs, but I think every single one of us can relate to the challenge of just feeling out of control. When you have an autoimmune disease that's very unpredictable, that you have to think about on a daily basis, food comes up multiple times a day, every single day, we can have that feeling of, not being in control of our own health and our own life. We can feel alone as well, whether we're the only celiac in the family or the only celiac we know. It can be a very, very isolating feeling. And then you've got, of course, feeling dismissed. Whether it's, your doctor who didn't test you for 18 months and you were struggling with symptoms and you had to plead to be listened to, or whether it's your partner that you live with who just won't take cross-contamination seriously and is dismissive of, the true impacts that even a crumb of gluten can have on us. So I think we can all relate to those challenges overall, which affect all areas of life. So when it comes to feeling in control and taking positive steps towards not only a sustainable fitness journey, but a sustainable focus on your health and, long-term mental health as well, there are a few really, really important things that you do need to think about. So unfortunately, in this country, the support system is essentially a postcode lottery. We don't know what we're going to get. We don't know whether our GP is going to offer us a celiac review. We don't know how long our gluten-free prescriptions are going to last. So unfortunately, we have to take accountability and build up our own knowledge on what support's available and join communities as you guys have done to get that support as well. Another super, super important thing, something like fitness and starting a health and fitness journey can feel super, super overwhelming when you're in a really, really bad space in terms of your health. Whether you're newly diagnosed or whether you're a year down the line and still struggling with symptoms, setting small, very, very small, manageable goals is the way forwards in building something that's truly sustainable and not overwhelming. So, for example, if you are looking for a 20 kg weight loss goal, yes, it's great to map that out, but what are you going to do today to achieve that goal? What are you going to do at dinner time to achieve that goal? And it's about breaking up your journey into small pieces so that when you are feeling mentally exhausted, when the brain fogging, if we can say that was a very Gen Z thing to say, but you know what I mean. We need to just make sure that we are chunking things down. And the best thing you can do for yourself is build structure and routine. This is honestly game changing. For those days where you can't quite map things out, you're extra, extra tired, having everything laid out for you and having that routine in place is absolutely game changing. So, here is something that's going to be super, super important for your journey when it comes to health and fitness as a celiac. So, this is what I like to call the pyramid of progress. I came up with it today and I'm pretty impressed with myself. So it's basically just a representation of what your focus should be and where your priorities should be. Whether you're at the start of your journey, whether you've been trying for a while to achieve some goals, everybody needs to understand this. So at the bottom of the pyramid, we've got the most important thing that you need to focus on, your health and the way that you are managing your celiac disease. Whether you're working towards fat loss, muscle gain, you're doing a powerlifting competition, you're an athlete, none of your goals will happen if you aren't doing best for your health. That is the number one most important thing. And then after health, after managing symptoms and after following your gluten-free diet, nutrition is the second most important thing. So when it comes to weight loss in particular, muscle building, nutrition is the bread and butter of progress. If your nutrition's in place, not in place, it doesn't matter what workouts you do, you will not see results. You will not see progress. Okay, so nutrition comes after health. And then you've got exercise at the top of the pyramid, the cherry on top. So please do let me know at the end of this presentation if you've got any questions on this, but I am going to go through what I mean by each of these now. So as a starting point, we're going to talk about quick fixes, quick habits to tackle layer one of the pyramid. So improving your health. So this may seem like common sense, following a strict gluten-free diet as a celiac, but I've put in brackets there, like seriously. And I mean seriously. Okay, so no cheat days. No, just this once. No, I'm on a night out and I'm drunk, so I'll have a kebab. I cannot explain how important this is. Oh,
We're kind of like kept saying, "Are you sure you're 18?"
oh, Charlotte, would you mind popping your microphone on mute for me? Thank you. Thank you. So I've spoken to so many people who are, really, really struggling, but they're having, the odd may contain. They're having, the odd bit of gluten every now and then. And I just can't express, you need to stop with that. It can feel difficult, but at the end of the day, if you're wanting to see progress, if you're wanting to feel better, it's only you that can make this change. Some real things to consider are cross-contamination at home. So I talked to, I think I must have had over 200 conversations now with people who are still experiencing symptoms, and they are pretty certain that, their partner or their family members are being really, really careful about cross-contamination at home. But in particular, if you're thinking about children, if you're thinking about, your partner when they've had a long day at work, can we be certain that, every single day, every time they're in the kitchen, every time they're having food, they are being 100% careful, because we're human beings. And as celiacs, we slip up. So we do need to bear in mind that even though people say they are being super, super careful, they aren't always, even if it's not on purpose. They're not bad people. We all make mistakes. So if you are really, really struggling with symptoms, and you're telling yourself that your family is being careful, I would strongly suggest that you think about just asking them to get gluten out of the house for a month, for example. It doesn't have to be forever, because that's quite hard to communicate with people, but just get rid of it for a month and see how you feel, see how you start to feel. So with May contains, obviously there are a lot of debates around this. I'm not going to go too much into it, but I personally avoid them. I do advise my clients to avoid them as well, just because I was having a conversation with one of my lovely clients this morning, and she had a May contain last night, and she's woke up today in agony. Stomach pains, she can't go to the gym, and it really does impact your progress. So it's just not worth it. There's so many other things that we can buy nowadays that we don't need to turn to May contains. And when it comes to eating out, just make sure that you are asking the right questions. So sometimes you've got to have the mentality that the waiter you're speaking to doesn't understand cross contamination. So always over explain, always ask twice, and don't be scared as well. Honestly, 9 times out of 10, they will be absolutely fine, and they will be really, really accommodating for you. Okay. So, right. So, in terms of quick fixes to improve your health. So, for each health, nutrition, and fitness, we're going to go over 4 very, very quick fixes. Okay. So, in terms of health, the number one question I want you to ask yourself right now is, when was my last blood test? All of my clients, this is what I'm always asking them: when was your last blood test? Because if the answer was 5 years ago, if the answer was 10 years ago, please, 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 please chase up your yearly celiac review. Okay, so you do not know whether, for example, you're getting cross contaminated without being aware of it. You might have iron deficiencies, calcium deficiencies, vitamin D deficiencies, but you'll never ever know without a blood test. And you've got to remember that your body, I was about to say your body's a temple, that's cringy, but at the end of the day, fat loss and muscle building, they rely on that baseline of health to be there. So please do book in a blood test if it's been more than a year. And if it's coming up to that year mark, chase up that yearly celiac review. It is super, super, super important. And then, of course, based on your blood test results, start supplementing your deficiencies now.
Ella, sorry, could I interrupt and ask a question?
Absolutely.
Just about the blood test. Is that,
Mhm.
would you say if someone is just gluten-free, if they've not got it kind of as bad as being a celiac, would you say that the blood tests are still good to get in that case?
So, Taylor, you're absolutely right. Blood tests are important for absolutely everybody on this planet, okay, not just celiacs. Vitamin and nutritional deficiencies cause so many problems for people, and they just never know, because people might be scared of needles, or, you feel like you have to be pushy at the GP to get seen. And unfortunately, the healthcare system in this country is very reactive, not preventative. So if you're noticing, even if you don't have celiac disease and you're noticing fatigue, muscle aches, a little bit of dizziness, maybe you're sore for 5 days after your workouts, I'd really, really encourage you to push for a blood test. And unfortunately, obviously, it's easier said than done in this country, but if you're looking for private blood tests, you can get one for 50 to £100 now online. You can do it in your house with a finger prick sample. So if you are really, really struggling, but you've got that feeling inside that something might be off, I would just encourage you to, if you have the funding for that, please, please, please just grab a private blood test if possible. Does that make sense, Taylor?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thanks, Ella.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. So, of course, after the blood tests comes supplementing those deficiencies, right? It's all well and good, the doctor saying you need X milligrams of iron. But if you're being honest with yourself, When was the last time you took it? When was the last time you took those supplements for more than a week? It takes consistency. The same with everything. Eating healthy for one day doesn't get us results. Doing one workout doesn't get us results. And it's the same thing with health. It needs to be a consistent theme. So things like pill organizers, and something I always say to my clients is habit stack. So if they forget to weigh themselves in the morning, something I say is put your toothpaste on the scales. Every single morning, you'll be bending down to get the toothpaste off the scales and you'll hop on. The same goes with supplements. If you're having a coffee every single morning, stick them next to the coffee machine, stick them next to the kettle, somewhere you're going to go every single day and see them. And over time, you'll pair the habit and it'll become completely natural. So please prioritize supplementing those deficiencies and be honest with yourself about it. In terms of other supplements you can take, not to do with deficiencies, there is a guide in the Facebook group which walks you through some specific recommendations with that. But does anybody else have any questions on blood tests and supplements?
No.
No? No? Perfect. So this is also one that seems pretty obvious, but when was the last time, guys, we actually tracked our water intake? So what I find when it comes to a range of different things in terms of health, we often say, oh, I'm drinking so much water. Yeah, I'm really great with my water. I've got my Stanley cup, I've got my water bottle, I take it to work. But when do we actually track our hydration? So we can feel like we're drinking a lot of water, but what I'd encourage you guys to start doing is just actively set yourself a goal. 2 to 3 liters a day is more than enough. And that is a really great goal to have. But just holding yourself accountable to that and actually tracking how much you're having will transform the way you feel, particularly having water first thing in the morning. The same goes for sleep. So sleep's a difficult one because when you're struggling with sleep, it really does have a large impact on your life. But a small, quick fix that you can do with sleep, if you're struggling with fatigue, sleep quality, getting up throughout the night, I'd say cut off your water intake. So 2 hours before bed, stop having any water. And I'd really encourage you to have a bit of a wind down routine. If you're a mum, it's not easy. If you've got a newborn baby, it's not easy. But even 5 to 10 minutes, instead of scrolling on TikTok, let's do something a bit less stimulating, okay? We don't all have to read a book because books are now really big on TikTok and Instagram. Like, even just watching a film is less stimulating than scrolling through TikTok. So please consider swapping out that doom scroll for something a bit more slow pace right before bed. And this will have a tremendous impact on your sleep quality. And of course, therefore, your digestion, your energy, your recovery after your sessions. It's just really important. Okay. So any questions on these ones? Are we all okay? Yeah. Fantastic. Is anybody else really sweaty? This country needs air conditioning, I swear. So with nutrition, moving on to some quick fixes. As we said, the bottom of the pyramid is health. Then the most important thing above workouts, okay, is nutrition. So quick fixes to improve your nutrition. So this is a little bit of a controversial one. It gets a bad name on social media, and I'm very aware that people have negative experiences with tracking. However, if you can, the best thing you can do for yourself is track your food intake. Whether it's for a week or whether it's something that you want to stick to consistently, which I personally recommend, please, even if it's for 7 days, track your food intake. I see it time and time again. I feel like I'm eating so much. I feel like I'm not eating anything, but I'm not losing weight. You have no idea how many calories you are actually eating unless you track your food. Okay, so this is the biggest mistake. Overeating, if you're trying to lose weight, or undereating, if you're trying to gain weight, is the biggest mistake. So you can work out the number of calories and protein and things like that you have to eat, but I'm not going to go through that because it's individual for everybody. You can go online and work it out using a macro calculator, but please, whatever you do, track your food if possible, just to get an accurate overview of what you're actually eating. What you don't track, you can't change. You literally don't know what goals to set yourself because you don't know where you're at. That food calculator might say, you need to eat 1,900 calories. And then you track your food and you're eating 800. It's not a realistic jump to go from that to 1,900 calories. So please track your food as a starting point with nutrition. And that's something you can start tomorrow. The apps are free. You can download them for free. I use my Fitness Pal, and it's just a great skill to have for any fitness journey. In terms of kind of, you hear protein buzzing around on social media at the moment, and it's true. It's a super, super important macronutrient. Whether you're wanting to lose weight, build muscle, just feel healthier, protein is really, really important. But it can be really, really overwhelming when somebody says, you need to have a high protein diet, like overnight. Just worry about one meal at a time. And a meal that can really, really help you is breakfast. Okay. So I would encourage you for the rest of this week or next week, just encourage you to have a protein source with your breakfast, whether it's an egg, whether it's protein powder in your porridge, whether you have some sausages or bacon. It can really, really help with feeling full, more energized throughout the day as well, more satisfied. And protein's super important from cognitive function to hormonal function. So please prioritize, first of all, to bring a protein source into your breakfast. Whole foods is another buzzword that's going around on social media at the moment, but when it comes to celiac disease, you've got to remember that our intestines are damaged when we're first diagnosed, okay? And even later down the line, if we've been glutened and things like that, we can experience a little bit of damage, and whole foods are just a bit nicer for our body to absorb. So as a starting point, I'd recommend trying to bring in whole foods to at least one meal. And this is not complicated. It will be things you're having anyway: rice, chicken, potatoes. Just have one meal a day, just dedicated to a nice whole foods diet. And another huge one, a really, really quick fix. I get a lot of messages on Instagram and TikTok of people saying, oh, I saw your video about oats and I cut them out and now I feel so much better. So please be aware that people with celiac disease, and if you've not got celiac disease, if you've just got gluten intolerance, there is such thing as having multiple different intolerances. But for celiacs in particular, the damage in our intestines can lead us to be lactose intolerant as well. And this can have really, really similar symptoms to celiac disease, such as brain fog, fatigue, obviously digestive problems, bloating. So if you're still experiencing symptoms and you're still strictly following the gluten-free diet, I'd look into lactose intolerance, but of course, always speak to a dietitian. And with oats as well. So for a very small number of us, the body reacts to oats in exactly the same way as it reacts to gluten due to a protein in the oats called, I always pronounce it wrong, but avenin or avenin. And this is just basically the body thinks it's gluten. So you have the same symptoms. So if you're still struggling with symptoms and you've not looked into lactose intolerance or oat intolerance, that's something that you can start looking into tomorrow and potentially fix some of those symptoms that you are having. But any questions on this, guys? No? Fantastic. Am I talking too fast? Be honest.
No, not at all.
Perfect. Perfect. So finally, fitness. So I guess this is the one that seems the most fun, the least boring is the fitness side of things. But as we discussed, fitness is the top of the pyramid. Okay. So health first, nutrition second, then we can start thinking about workouts. So when it comes to quick fixes to improve your fitness, so my clients will be tired of me saying this: resistance train, resistance train, resistance train. So it can be very, very intimidating when you think about getting into training because you automatically associate it with the gym. But you can see amazing results from home, whether you want to lose weight or tone up or build muscle. Start with something that makes you comfortable. Just take that first step. A 10-minute home bodyweight workout on YouTube is better than nothing, okay? And everybody has 10 minutes. I promise you, if you feel like you're too busy, look at your screen time on your phone, look at how much time you're spending on social media, and believe me, you will be able to squeeze in a 10-minute workout 3 times a week. I have clients who work 12-hour shifts. They're, paramedics, they're nurses, they're police officers, they've got children, and they still get to the gym 3 times a week. So please don't fall for that almost self-fulfilling prophecy that you don't have time, because believe me, you will find 10 minutes to do this 3 times a week. When it comes to kind of getting into training, like I said, a 10-minute home workout on YouTube is a great place to start. You don't need to spend any money. You don't need to get a PT. You don't need to get a gym membership. Just do something. It's better than nothing. Okay. When it comes to fitness, though, something that I want you to be really, really conscious of, particularly if you're already training, but you're struggling to stay consistent because of symptoms, whether that's fatigue, stress, I don't know, joint pain, think about reducing the intensity. Go for something lower intensity. So instead of going to a body pump class, a hit circuit at your local gym, just go for something slightly slower, like Pilates, like potentially doing some steady state cardio on your own in the gym, following a more slower paced, focused resistance program. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had to tell people to do less because what's holding you back is the fact that you're doing too much and you're going too hard. And this is leading to burnout. Okay. So always start with low intensity workouts and then build it up over time. We don't need to rush. We're not athletes. We're not Olympians. We don't need to be, training 6 days a week. 3 times a week is more than enough. Low intensity is the way forwards and you can build it up over time. So when it comes to your overall fitness as well, so training is important, but steps can't stress how important steps are, particularly if you are wanting to achieve fat loss. This is the biggest mistake, people not sticking to a step goal when they're trying to lose weight. And as a starting point, something that anybody can do, no matter how busy they are, is just setting yourself a step goal. Take a look at your phone. So go on your health app on your phone and look at your average step count and just set the goal to increase that by 2,000. And all it takes to achieve that is a 15-minute walk throughout the day. So that is your goal for next week if you are looking to lose fat. And it's great for your mental health as well to get out there and to, of course, get some fresh air too. And as a final quick fix, it's about listening to your body. So working out is really, really important. And a couple of my clients on this call will know that I've told them to do a lot less than they were doing before they came to me. Because, again, as I mentioned with the intensity portion, doing too much harms you and it's just not effective. So if you are, waking up extremely exhausted, if you're waking up with extreme back pain, for example, don't go to the gym. Go for a walk, go for a swim, do some yoga, and just listen to your body. And as an example, if you're finding that a class that you're going to is making you super, super exhausted for the next 3 days, just stop going to that class. Just try something new, try something different, stop forcing it to happen. You've got to meet your body where it's at. Okay. Recovery is just as important as the workout itself, because if you can't recover, you can't stay consistent. And without consistency, you will see no progress at all. Okay. So, any questions about these ones, guys? Or are we all good?
I jump in a bit, Ella, there.
Yeah.
So sorry if you hear someone cutting the grass outside, by the way.
No, don't worry.
Just on the sort of like training 3 times a week, is that so if, for example, like I'm at dancing a couple of nights, would you still recommend the 3 times a week for like 10 minutes, or does that reduce based on like what other activities you do so that you're not then like burning yourself out?
Absolutely. So it depends on the extra activity you're doing. So, Louise, if you're doing dancing, dancing is
Mm-hmm.
obviously very demanding in terms of core strength and mobility,
Yeah.
but would you agree that it's mainly like working your cardiovascular system?
Yeah, more than there's not a lot of like weight stuff, etc. So
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So in that instance, for example, what you can do is when you go to the gym, just focus on resistance training. You do not need to do more cardio than your two
Mhm.
dancing sessions a week. But on top of
Yeah.
that, you could do 3 resistance sessions, for example. But I
Right.
just
Yeah.
wouldn't do any extra cardio if you're already doing it. Whether you're going to a boxing
Yeah. No.
class or something like that, just stick to the best form of cardio, Louise, is the one that you actually enjoy and the one you're going to do anyway. So I really
Yeah.
encourage people to stick to things like that.
Absolutely.
Sports, it's really, really fantastic. So in that case, I'd recommend you'd be absolutely fine doing. I'd start off with 2 resistance sessions because I know that we've spoken before and fatigue can be a struggle for you, can't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
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 So I'd start off with 2. And what you can do at the end of the week, you can reflect on how am I feeling? Am I feeling
Mhm.
absolutely knackered, like I need to spend Saturday, Sunday on the sofa? Or am I feeling
Yeah.
okay? And if the answer's,
Yeah.
oh, I'm actually feeling all right, the next week, go in for that 3rd session and have the same conversation with yourself. And you never know, you might find that you can train 4 times a week. But
Yeah. Mhm.
the only thing is don't rush into it because that's when the
Yeah.
burnout happens. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. No, that's great. Thank you.
No, no problem. Anybody else got a question? Fantastic. So, big, big, big reminder here. We just spoke about burnout there when Louise asked about the dancing side of things, but progress is not linear, guys. And there will be times. So, for example, I haven't been to the gym. I'm a fitness coach. I tell people to go to the gym every single day. I make sure people are doing their workouts every single day. I haven't been to the gym in 2 weeks. The reason for that is because I got cross-contaminated a few weeks ago and I've had joint pain, fatigue issues, and sometimes it's not appropriate. It doesn't mean that I've ruined my progress. It doesn't mean that I'm, going to put weight on or I'm going to lose muscle. Sometimes the body needs to rest, and that is absolutely okay. And there will be times where we have to take a step back. And there will be times as well where you get to the gym and you feel like the 1 kg dumbbells are heavy and you can't lift the same weights as you did last week. And it's absolutely fine, because imagine if we got stronger and made the same amount of progress every single week, imagine how heavy we'd be lifting. If you'd been in the gym 8 years, you'd be squatting, 300 kilo if you were adding weight every single week. So it's completely normal for your strength to both dip and to increase and to maintain. But what's important is you stay consistent over time, because as this graph shows here, even though it doesn't feel like it, over time you are making progress. Okie dokie. And with that as well, it goes the same for weight loss. Not every day you'll step on the scales and you'll lose weight, and not every day you might gain weight. It doesn't mean that you're not losing fat. It doesn't mean that you're gaining fat. I just encourage you to take visual progress pictures alongside measuring scale weight, because as celiacs, unfortunately, we get a lot of inflammation in the body. And if we eat one wrong thing, we're bloated for 4 days. Our toilet trips are irregular. We might not go for 5 days, for example. And all of those things can really, really inflate our scale weight and mask fat loss progress on the scales. So if you take anything away from this portion, take progress pictures as well as scale weight to measure progress. So next steps after this presentation. So I will email you over a few free resources based on what we've talked about, just to give you something to take away and actually implement. But guys, actually use them. Read them, use them. You'd be surprised how many people show up to webinars like this, take an hour out of their day, sit there reading resources and never ever implement them. So do yourself the best service and come away from this and actually start with these habits, okay? Write them in your planner, set yourself some goals, and just use this as a motivation boost, something to actually push you forwards, and just use them. Do something about it, okay? So what have we got now? So we've got an opportunity for a quick Q&A now. If anybody has any questions at all with anything we've spoken about or anything that you want to ask me, please, please, please do let me know. Anybody got any questions?
No.
No? Amazing, amazing. So how did you guys find this presentation?
Good, really good.
Yeah? Can you guys
Yeah, it
still
was
see
really
me?
good.
Yeah? Right, amazing. So if you haven't submitted your email to the webinar kind of reminder list, please, please, please submit your email on there. It's a form, it's been posted in the Facebook group. And if you have any questions after this, you know where to find me, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, in the Facebook group, just drop me a message. And next up, our next guest is a dietitian. So if you have any topic requests, any expert requests that you'd like me to get on to do these webinars, please, please, please let me know, and I will do my absolute best to get it organized. Okay, guys? Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah,
amazing.
Can I ask you another question, Ella? Sorry.
Yes, yes, of
Just
course.
before you go, what would you recommend for like starting out at home? Like what sort of like weights would you recommend? Any like resistance bands? Like what sort of would be like your starter pack?
So for home workouts, first of all, use what you've got, if anything. Do you
Yeah.
have like anything at home at all?
Yeah, I've got weights. I do have some bands somewhere, and I do have a foam roller for dancing as well.
Yeah, that's great. So use what you've got whilst you're building the confidence up. And then when
Mhm.
you start to feel like you've outgrown those weights, then invest. Because what I
Yeah.
find is people will often start with home workouts, do them for a few weeks, and they'll come to me and they'll say, I'm not feeling confident. I don't want to go to the gym. It's
Mm.
too nerve-wracking. I can't do it. But once they give it a go and it's been a few weeks, they'll actually want to get to the gym. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say buy anything. until you
Mhm.
know for sure that you're not gonna, because I think because you're an active person, I think you'll catch the bug
Mhm.
and you'll want to go to the gym. Okay, so use what you've got.
Yeah.
But the best thing to buy, you can get adjustable dumbbells on Amazon and barbells. So instead of
Okay.
buying, 2 kg, 5 kg, 7 kg, 10 kg, you can
Mhm.
just adjust it and it takes up a lot less space. So
Amazing.
adjustable
Yeah.
dumbbells are the best, but stay
Awesome.
consistent with what you've got first of all, and then you'll probably find yourself wanting to go to the gym anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Amazing. Does anybody else have any questions at all? Are we all good? Amazing. Well, thank you so much, guys, for showing up today. If you have any questions after this, because questions pop up when you're going through the resources and things like that, you know where to find me. And have a lovely rest of your evening. Okay. See you later. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Ella. Bye.
Bye. No worries. Bye. Bye.